Before cookies, before the pink weed era, before brands tried repackaging the streets, there was the New York City Diesel. And if you were around in New York in the early 2000s, you already know this was the cousin to the sour that still held its own. Bright, loud, citrus soaked gas, the kind of weed that made you double take on the A train because somebody definitely cracked the jar too early. But New York City Diesel wasn't just another sour knockoff. Nah, this was its own thing, its own lineage, and it carried the city's name with pride. New York City Diesel was born not in a basement grow in Brooklyn, but through a breeder named Soma, originally from the US, but working out of Amsterdam. The story goes he crossed the Afghani Landrace indica with a Mexican sativa, and somewhere along the lines added super skunk into the mix. The result? A sativa dominant hybrid with electric energy, a tangy citrus nose, and that signature diesel finish. Despite being bred overseas, Soma named it New York City Diesel as a tribute because the terps, the attitude, the vibe, it was all entirely city. Open a jar of New York City Diesel and it's like someone zested a grapefruit into a can of jet fuel. Limonene, myrcene, and pinene. I don't know if I butchered that or I pronounced it correctly. I'm sorry. All of it came together in this sharp, clean, citrusy gas that hit different from the funk of sour. It was bright, not dirty, sparkly, not skunky. A daytime diesel made for the heads who like to stay lifted but clear. That's why the strain became a staple in studio sessions, photo shoots, and downtown ciphers, especially in the Lower East Side, Soho, and Bushwick before the real estate agents moved in. Sour and New York City Diesel were like two barrels, related but different vibes. Sour Diesel aggressive, funky, mad pungent, grown for chaos. While New York City Diesel was smooth, energetic, a citrus slap that made you feel productive but just not paranoid. If Sour was a Mobb Deep beat, then New York City Diesel was more like a Tribe Called Quest. Still, New York, just lighter on the shoulders. New York City Diesel started making noise globally around 2001, and it won multiple cannabis cups, had heads in Europe asking for it by name, and quickly built its own following in New York's underground. It was one of the first New York City branded strains to go international. Before social media, before influencers were growing, it moved on word of mouth and terps alone. Like most classics, New York City Diesel eventually got drowned out in a sea of purple candy terps and fast flowering hype strains. It wasn't the biggest yielder, took a little longer to flower, and didn't have the flashy bag appeal that newer strains came with. Some growers swapped it out, some tried crossing it with fruitier cuts, but the real thing, it got rare. Nowadays, you'll see New York City Diesel pop up here and there, but it's usually a remix, a cross, an interpretation, or a name used for marketing. The original cut from Soma seeds still exists. Some legacy cultivators in New York and Cali keep it alive. But if you're buying it off a modern shelf, check the genetics. Most times it's not the real deal. You want that old school New York City Diesel? Look for the sharp citrus nose, that's awake sativa buzz, and buds that don't look like candy, but smoke like memory. New York City Diesel didn't have the same street mythology as Sour, but it had its own place in the culture. It was the cool cousin in the Diesel family, the one that didn't need a yell to be heard, smooth, stylish, and still out. And if you ever smoked a real New York City Diesel back in the day, drop a comment, let me know when and where, and if you haven't, well maybe it's time for the city brought her back.